Level 1, the candidate. You are not recruited. That is the first thing nobody tells you. There is no man in a dark coat who approaches you at a conference. There is no encrypted message. There is no tap on the shoulder. There is a form. It lives on a government website between a link about federal retirement benefits and a page about internship opportunities. You fill it out on a Sunday evening in your apartment. The cursor blinks, you type your name, you list the countries you have visited, you disclose the foreign nationals you have known in a professional capacity. You submit, then your life continues exactly as it was. 8 months later, not 6, not 3, 8, an email arrives from an address that contains no institutional identifier, a phone number, a first name, a request to call before Friday. The interview happens in a building accessed through a parking structure in Northern Virginia. No lobby, no reception desk with a company logo. A man in his 50s asks you questions for most of a working day. The questions are not about your qualifications. They are about your character, and more specifically, about the places in your character where the floor might give way under pressure. Have you ever made a decision you knew was wrong and made it anyway? Have you ever allowed someone to believe something about you that was not true? Have you ever protected yourself at someone else's expense? You answer. The answers matter less than how long it takes you to find them. The polygraph comes next. Sensors on your sternum, your fingertips, the inside of your left wrist. The technician explains nothing about how the machine works. That omission is deliberate. You are being measured not by the device, but by what you believe the device can do. You are accepted. You will not understand for several years exactly what you were accepted into. Level 2, the trainee. The facility has a name that appears on no publicly available document. 18 months. That is how long you will spend inside 9,000 acres of Virginia woodland learning a profession that has no honest job title. You wake before the sun. You run through pine trees in the dark on a route that changes weekly because predictable routes are how people get killed. You eat in a cafeteria with people whose real names you will not know until long after you stop working with them. The curriculum is not dramatic. It is methodical. You learn that surveillance is not about watching. It is about noticing what has changed. The car parked 2 houses down that was not there yesterday. The man who checks his phone at the same interval as your movement. The pattern inside the apparent randomness. You learn that recruitment is not manipulation in the way civilians understand the word. It is the careful construction of a relationship in which the other person gradually makes choices that feel like their own. You study the architecture of trust and the specific load-bearing points at which trust becomes obligation. You fail operations. You pass others. The washout rate in your cohort reaches 37% by month 11. The people who leave are not weaker than the people who stay. They're simply people for whom the gap between who they were and who this work requires them to become is too wide to cross without losing something they are not willing to lose. You cross it. You graduate on a Tuesday. No ceremony, a badge, a posting, a name for your cover that you will answer to so fluently within 6 months that your real name will occasionally feel like the fiction. Level 3, the case officer. Your first target takes 9 months. He's a trade ministry official in a mid-sized European capital. Access to procurement data, low salary relative to his expenses, a child with a medical condition that costs more than his government insurance covers. You meet him at an industry reception. You encounter him again at a conference. You ask about his daughter by name the second time you see him because you have done your research, and remembering the names of people's children is one of the most effective tools in the kit. Over the following months, you become something that looks from the outside indistinguishable from friendship. You cover a medical bill, not a large one, a gesture. He is grateful. You are generous again. By the time the relationship has a transactional dimension, it has been preceded by so many months of genuine seeming warmth that the transaction feels like a natural extension of something that already existed. He hands you a document in an envelope he leaves on a restaurant table when he goes to use the bathroom. He has not been asked to betray his country. He has been asked to share information. The distinction is linguistic, not moral. You know this. You file the report. You move to the next target. Level 4, the NOC. The difference between official cover and non-official cover is the difference between a safety net and a very long fall. Under official cover, you are a diplomat. You have a badge. You have an embassy. If you are caught doing something you should not be doing, you are expelled. The incident becomes a diplomatic irritant. You go home. Your family is safe. Your career absorbs the damage. Under non-official cover, none of that exists. You are a private citizen, a consultant, a businessman, a professor. Whatever legend the agency builds for you over the 4 months of preparation that precede your deployment, the front company has real offices in 2 cities, real employees who believe in its existence, real invoices and real clients, and a website with a reasonable number of broken links, because real companies always have a few. If you are caught, you are prosecuted. The agency's position will be that it has no record of you in any capacity relevant to the charges. That position will be maintained regardless of what you say or what evidence is presented. You understand this when you sign the paperwork. You understand it more fully when you are sitting alone in an apartment in a city you have never visited, speaking a language you learned at a facility whose name you cannot say, 3 time zones from the nearest person who knows what you actually do for a living. Level 5, the paramilitary officer. Your cover nearly comes apart in a coastal city where you were not supposed to be running an operation of that type. You are pulled, reassigned. The Special Activities Center is the part of the organization that does not appear in the congressional budget under any name a journalist could find. Former Delta Force instructors teach you to clear buildings in the dark. Former SEAL Team 6 officers explain the physics of a close quarters engagement in a way that removes all abstraction from the subject. You learn to use weapons you will never be able to explain owning. Your first operational deployment is in a mountainous region. The orders have a country name omitted. You spend 10 weeks in conditions that aid you in ways that do not show on your face, but show in how you move through rooms for the rest of your life. The militia fighters you work alongside have loyalties structured entirely around payment and the perception of strength. You provide both and trust neither. You authorize a strike. The intelligence is good, the target dies. The next authorization, the intelligence is imprecise in a way that only becomes clear after the fact. You write the report. You use the institutional language. The gap between what the words say and what the words mean is where the actual event lives. That gap never fully closes. Level 6, the team leader. 8 people, your responsibility. 4 are career officers. 4 are contractors who left special operations units because the pay structure outside the government is significantly better and the deniability structure is significantly worse. You make less than any of them. The decisions belong entirely to you. Libya, during the period when the government has effectively ceased to exist and is being replaced by a rotating series of armed factions with overlapping territorial claims. Your mission is chemical weapons interdiction. 3 sites identified through signals intelligence. You have 6 weeks and a safe house rotation that changes every 2 days. You find what you were sent to find. 15 tons distributed across 3 locations, the official assessment said were inactive. You destroyed in place because transportation is not survivable. On the final night, the extraction goes wrong in the way that final nights sometimes do. You lose 1 man, you carry another across terrain that is not designed for carrying people. The helicopter arrives, you account for everyone who can be accounted for. You write the letters home. The letters are accurate about the outcome and silent about everything that preceded it. The families will grieve a version of events that is true in its conclusion and incomplete in every particular that led to it. The mission is logged as successful. You do not disagree with that classification. Level 7, the station chief. Your body has been recording the work for 15 years and has begun presenting its findings. A shoulder that behaves unpredictably, hearing in your left ear that stopped being reliable somewhere over a mountainous region in a country you cannot name in this context. Sleep that arrives in 2-hour segments and refuses to consolidate. They give you a station. An entire country's intelligence apparatus flows through your desk. 40 officers, several hundred assets at various levels of access and reliability. You meet with the ambassador on Monday mornings. You meet with your counterpart in the host country's service on alternate Thursdays. Both relationships are collaborative and adversarial simultaneously. Both parties understand this and proceed professionally. You approve operations, you kill operations. The criteria for each decision involve variables that cannot all be quantified and timelines that compress without warning. Your children have stopped asking detailed questions about your work, not because they are incurious, because they have learned that the answers are either classified or constructed, and they are old enough now to prefer the silence to the performance. You have not slept more than 5 hours consecutively in 2 years. This is not complained about. It is simply the condition of the level. Level 8, the site commander. The facility exists in the administrative sense only. A building in a cooperative country. A local security perimeter maintained by a service that is paid not to ask questions and has proven reliable on that front for 9 years. Inside, cells, a medical unit, interrogation rooms designed by people who thought carefully about acoustics. The occupants have no legal status. They were not arrested. They were collected, which is a different category. They have not appeared before any judicial body. They have no access to representation. The legal framework governing their treatment was written after their treatment began and written by people whose professional interest was in the framework's compatibility with what was already happening. You run this for 26 months. You tell yourself the information matters. On the occasions when it does, the telling is easier. On the occasions when it does not, or when the information proves inaccurate, the telling requires more architecture. You leave with a commendation filed in a location you are not given. The facility continues. You do not ask about it again. Level 9, the division director. The memorial wall at Langley has a star for every officer who died in service. 142 when you return to headquarters for the last phase of your career. Some have names in a classified book held in the director's office. Some do not even have that. You oversee a division. The budget is a number that does not appear in any public document. The operations span 4 continents. The assets number in the thousands. You brief the president through intermediaries and occasionally directly. You sit in rooms where the people making decisions are using the information you have assembled and the analysis your officers have produced, and you watch decisions get made that will not be acknowledged by the people making them and will be attributed to conditions or to chance. You testify. The testimony is accurate. It is also structured to preserve the operational space the organization requires. The senators understand this. The arrangement is stable because it is useful to everyone in the room. The machine runs. You are one of its more senior components. Level 10, the ghost. 31 years. The ceremony is in a 4th floor conference room, 48 people, no press, no public record. The director speaks about service in the language the organization uses for these occasions. Weight, sacrifice, the invisible nature of the contribution. You receive a medal in a box that will live in a closet. You sign documents extending your obligations into the remainder of your life. You are escorted out through the same parking structure you entered through the first time 31 years ago, on a Thursday. Not knowing what state you were in, you drive home. The house in Virginia is precisely as you left it. The neighborhood is quiet in the way that neighborhoods are quiet when you have spent years in places that are not. The pension will cover everything you need. The healthcare is thorough. The government is responsible that way. You walk the property at 2 in the morning on the first night. Old habit. The perimeter is clear. It will be clear every night for the rest of your life. You will walk it anyway. You are alone with everything that officially did not happen. The assets who were found. The reports written in passive voice. The facility with no address. The decisions made in rooms that have no transcripts. A star will be added to the wall when the time comes. No name, just the count, incremented by 1. Somewhere tonight, a young person is staring at a government website. Smart, clean record, idealistic in the specific way that makes a person useful to an organization like this one. They are reading the job description. They are imagining something. What they are imagining is not what they are reading. They will learn the difference. They always do. The form is still on the website. The cursor blinks.